The Grand Blackwood Hotel stood tall, a beacon of a bygone era. Its facade, weathered yet elegant, whispered tales of time gone by. I stepped into the lobby, my senses flooded with the scent of polished wood and old books. A grandfather clock ticked rhythmically, each tick a solemn reminder of the passage of time. The receptionist, a kind-faced woman with silver hair, greeted me with a warm smile. Her voice, soft and melodic, seemed to echo the gentle hum of history that permeated the very walls of the hotel. She handed me the heavy key to my room, 307. "Enjoy your stay," she whispered. Room 307 was charming. Floral wallpaper adorned the walls, faded with time, yet still beautiful. The furniture, though antique, was sturdy and inviting. A musty scent lingered in the air, a testament to the room's age. It was as if time itself had taken a pause within the confines of this room, preserving a moment from the past. I unpacked my suitcase, placing my belongings into the old wooden dresser. The setting sun cast long shadows across the room, painting everything in hues of orange and purple. As night fell, the sounds of the city outside faded away, replaced by a serene silence. I lay in bed, listening to the gentle creaking of the old building. It wasn't an unsettling sound, rather it was comforting, like the lullaby of a loving grandmother. The old house seemed to sigh and settle around me, its embrace both eerie and comforting. At the stroke of midnight, a sharp knock echoed through the room, jolting me awake. My heart pounded in my chest as I sat up in bed, straining to hear over the sudden silence. Had I imagined it? The stillness of the night seemed to amplify every rustle of the sheets, every creak of the floorboards. I held my breath, listening intently. Seconds ticked by, each one an eternity. Then it came again, 3 distinct raps on the wall, as if someone were knocking from the other side. Fear coiled in my stomach, cold and relentless. I threw back the covers and climbed out of bed, my bare feet sinking into the plush carpet. The room was bathed in the eerie glow of the moon, casting long, distorted shadows on the walls. I approached the wall where the sound had originated, my hand trembling as I reached out to touch the cold plaster. As my fingers brushed against the wall, they encountered something thin and papery, tucked behind a loose piece of wallpaper. My heart skipped a beat. Carefully, I peeled back the edge of the paper, revealing a small, folded note. It was yellowed with age, the ink faded but still legible. With trembling hands, I unfolded the note and held it up to the moonlight. It was a message, scrawled in hurried handwriting, and it sent a shiver down my spine. "Don't trust the knocks," it read. "The room remembers." Fear, raw and primal, washed over me. What did the message mean? Who had written it and why? My mind raced, desperate for a logical explanation, but the words "the room remembers" echoed ominously in my thoughts. Section 5. The search begins. I spent the rest of the night with the lights on, the mysterious note clutched tightly in my hand. Sleep was impossible. The words on the note haunted me, fueling my imagination with unsettling possibilities. Who had stayed in this room before me? And what had happened to them? As soon as dawn broke, I dressed quickly and hurried downstairs. I found the receptionist in the lobby, her kind face etched with concern as I approached her, my eyes wide with anxiety. I showed her the note, my voice trembling as I recounted the events of the night. The receptionist listened patiently, her brow furrowed in thought. When I finished speaking, she took the note from my hand and examined it closely. A strange look crossed her face, a mixture of sadness and recognition. "This note," she said finally, her voice barely a whisper, "it belonged to a young woman who stayed here many years ago. She was a writer, you see, and she loved the hotel's old-world charm." She paused, her gaze distant, lost in thought. "She used to say that the hotel whispered stories to her," the receptionist continued, her voice soft and melancholic. "She claimed that room 307 had a special energy, that it held onto the memories of all who had stayed within its walls." I listened intently, captivated by the receptionist's tale. The woman in the photograph was beautiful, her eyes filled with a spark of creativity and a hint of melancholy. What had she experienced in room 307, and what had become of her? One day, the receptionist continued, her voice tinged with sadness. The young woman simply disappeared. She left all her belongings in room 307 as if she had just stepped out for a moment and never returned. The police searched everywhere, but she was never found. The receptionist's words hit me like a ton of bricks. The room had been unoccupied ever since. The thought sent a shiver down my spine. The knocks, the note, the young woman's disappearance. It was all starting to feel terrifyingly real. "Some say," the receptionist whispered, leaning in close, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination, "that her spirit still lingers in room 307, trapped by the stories she sought to uncover." I returned to room 307, my mind reeling from the receptionist's revelations. The room seemed different now, colder, as if a dark cloud had settled over it. The air was heavy with unspoken words, the silence punctuated by the phantom echoes of the midnight knocks. I looked around the room at the faded wallpaper, the antique furniture, the heavy curtains that blocked out the sunlight. It was a room frozen in time, a mausoleum of memories, and I was trapped inside. I packed my bags, my hands shaking as I folded my clothes and placed them in my suitcase. I couldn't stay here, not another night. The room held too many secrets, too much sadness. It was a place of sorrow, where the past refused to stay buried. I returned the key to the receptionist, my footsteps echoing through the silent lobby. I didn't say a word about the knocks, the note, or the young woman's ghost. Some stories, I realized, are best left untold. As I walked away from the Grand Blackwood Hotel, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I glanced back at the building, its facade looming large and imposing in the midday sun, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a figure standing in the window of room 307, a solitary silhouette framed against the dusty glass. I never returned to the Grand Blackwood Hotel, but the memory of that night, of the knocks, the note, and the young woman's ghost stayed with me. A chilling reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some stories best left untold, and some rooms forever unoccupied.